Yesterday, the club announced that Paul Dummett had signed a one-year extension to his contract. Why did you want to keep Dummett at the club?
Great personality. Newcastle through and through. Loves the club, loves everything connected with the club. And I think it's very important that the characters that of the squad are of the highest quality, and I think Paul is. So I still think he's got a lot to offer on the pitch as well, and I've been really pleased to see him stay fit for a sustained period of time, and he's trained very well. And you have to remember back to the Leeds game, which was a pivotal game for us this season, in a moment where we were in a very difficult situation. I think he played with very minimal training time that day, and I thought he was outstanding against a very difficult opponent. So he's played his part in our success, and I'm delighted he's staying.
On that issue of game time, he's had a difficult couple of years because of injuries and has only played, I think, 3 times for you this season. Taking into account what Newcastle means to him, was it still a difficult sell to him? Because like any player, he'll want to be playing regularly, and he hasn't featured, I think, since February.
No, it wasn't a difficult sell, because I think he can see the situation that he's been in, and I think he just wanted a period of time where he remained fit. So I don't think there was an expectation of him to play. Obviously he wants to play, but to play regularly at this moment, I think it was more, right, I just need to stay fit for a period of time, and I'll prove my worth. He will play his part next season for sure. And as I said, he's got valuable experience, which we'll need, and also an adaptability. He can play centre-back and full-back, which is very important. We have versatility within our squad.
How much training have Callum Wilson and Kieran Trippier done, and will they be in the squad for Sunday?
So let's look at this this week. Callum has trained all week. Been really pleased with him. I think he's trained very well. We've had 2 really tough days, and he's come through those days excellently. Physically, he looks very good. He's put a lot of work in to get to this point. So very pleased with the attitude as always with Callum. He's incredible with his work, and he looks in a good place. I think there's a good chance he'll be involved. Kieran's slightly behind him this week in a sense that he hasn't trained every day, but when he has trained, I think he trained yesterday. He trained very well. So I'll make a late decision on him.
And how is Fabian Schär, who had to come off against Liverpool, doing?
Yeah, we haven't seen him yet this week, so we hope that he will be back to be available, but yeah, we haven't seen him yet.
You've got Manchester City then a week after playing Liverpool. Like you had earlier in the season, you had them in consecutive matches. I know you can't control the fixture list, but in an ideal world, would you not play them? You have 2 games running.
Probably ideally not, no. I think bizarre how that happens with the fixture list, but it's nothing that we can control, obviously. I think they are totally different games to the norm. They're unique tests. They test you in the most extreme way. They're the hardest games you'll have in the division, and we've had them back to back both times. I think we grew from the first group of games. I think we grew from that because we knew how tough it was, but I thought the team in the main in those 2 games performed pretty well, but despite difficult defeats. And last week I was still a little bit disappointed with the performance. I feel we can perform a lot better than that, but we were close, and hopefully we can go a little bit closer again.
And lastly, just wanted to ask you how pleased you are to see your old club Bournemouth coming back up to the Premier League.
Yeah, delighted. I watched the game. I haven't watched many Bournemouth games since I left, but I sat down and watched this one, and I was just willing the team on, and I was willing the club on, and amazing scenes afterwards. Great to see. Brought back a lot of memories for me of our previous promotion, and congratulations to Scott Parker and the incredible job that he's done. Congratulations to his coaching team, the players. I'm absolutely delighted for the club.
Hi Eddie, I wonder what you made of what happened to Man City during the week in Europe.
Yeah, it was a very difficult moment for them, I'm sure, because with very little time of the game remaining, you're thinking that they've gone through, and they had chances to extend that lead, and it just goes to show the beauty, not in their eyes, but the beauty of football, in the fact it's so unpredictable. The game's never up until it's over. I thought they were extremely unfortunate. When you go away to Real Madrid, you know how difficult that game is, and I thought they got a lot of aspects of their game right. Unfortunately, they go away and exit the competition, so I know that'll be painful for them. But we know they've got one of the best managers in the world to regroup and inspire them to come back again, and that's what we have to be prepared for.
Yeah, I think Pep said afterwards, he said, I just need a day or two and we'll rise again. They haven't been physically affected by the load of the Champions League and the number of games they've played, but do you expect them maybe to be emotionally affected from that?
Well, it can work both ways, can't it? It can be emotionally affected for the positive or the negative, you don't know. And I think from our perspective, we will 100% prepare for the best Manchester City. And in that respect, we have to be the best Newcastle that we can be. And I think, as I said, looking back to last week, that was the disappointment for me, that we just lacked a bit of intensity, I think, in our work that we've had consistently for the last 2-3 months. And hence why we didn't get the result that we wanted. So I think if we can add that part to our game back, I hope we can give a good performance.
I know you were talking to Razor there about Wilson and Trippier both being back or being close to being back. How nice is it to have two England internationals back for the last 3 games of the season?
Yeah, it's incredible to have players of that quality come back into your squad. We've missed them, no doubt about that. Not just as players, but as personalities. I think everyone saw the impact Kieran had in the team in a very short period of time. Not just with his performance, as I say, with his leadership skills, with his ability to help players on the pitch during the game. So to add that back into the training group this week's been a brilliant lift for everybody.
And I know you do a lot of work behind the scenes mentally with the players, making sure that they're okay away from the field. With these 2 guys missing a large chunk of the season, and I suppose a chunk of the season where the team's been performing very well, there's been lots of good things going on. Have you had to be aware of how they are mentally?
Oh, I think you have to be aware of everybody mentally, yeah. I've tried to stay in regular contact with both players. It's sometimes difficult when they're away. They've been different parts of the world getting specialist treatment, and we've had a big catalogue of games, but I think they've both reacted very well to the difficult situation they've been in, especially Callum, because I think his injury was very difficult, a difficult time for him in the season. But he's very, very strong, he's very resilient, and he's come back with a bounce, so I'm delighted for both.
Well, Eddie, now I've recovered from my heart attack in there anyway. Just talking about Manchester City this weekend, how much have you learnt from that game against Liverpool? How much have the players learnt from that game against Liverpool against such high quality opposition?
Yeah, I think whenever you're stretched, I think you do learn a great deal, and I think I always feel the games that we've had against the top teams in the past, if the result doesn't go your way, you have to look at it as how do we learn from them, and how do we adapt our game to next time we play them, get closer. So the game against Liverpool, I felt our weakness in our performance was just that lack of bite that we have had. The intensity that we've shown on a consistent basis has been the hallmark of our success, whether that's running towards our own goal or running towards the opponent's goal. Just felt we were slightly off on that. And we didn't give the crowd enough, I don't think, on reflection of the performance. So we go away to Manchester City, and again, if we're slightly flat in any way, we will be punished. So we have to learn from that and come out all guns blazing and ready to fight for the team.
It's great news, obviously, on Callum and Kieran, as Keith and Razor have touched upon. But have you spoken to them much in the last few days? I imagine they're absolutely delighted to be back training. And what sort of impact has it had on the players around them this week?
Yeah, they're delighted to be back training. I think for them it's been a long wait. They're both competitors, they're both winners, they both want to contribute to the team. So they've been frustrated in the respect that their bodies haven't quite allowed them to do that at the speed that they wanted to. But I think they're ready now. They've trained very well, and I think it does give everyone a lift. I think when you see good players on the training pitch, and it's part of your team, it can't fail to inspire you. So I think training's been very good this week. And I hope they will contribute in some way for the remaining games that we have.
We've seen a few rumours on social media doing the rounds this week about the Shearer statue being moved onto St James's Park land. I was trying, and probably failing in fairness, to explain the significance of this to a friend the other night. Why is that, even just such a small gesture, a potentially significant and massive gesture for this club?
Because I've made this very clear previously, we have to celebrate our history. Important people in our history have to be given the respect that their efforts in the past of the demand. So for Allan, and everything he achieved for the club is unquestioned, and it's the respect. He rightly got a statue. It's moved now within clubland. That's so important, and I think it's a symbolic gesture that now we're together again, and we celebrate everything that he achieved.
And just one on Sunday, obviously a massive day for the club with the women's team playing at St James. Did you manage to get down in the end? And just looking towards the future, how do you see the links developing between the men's and the women's teams here at Newcastle?
Yeah, I did get to the game, and it was a great occasion. I mean, the support that the team got was incredible, and you could see from the stands and the reaction of the supporters to the result and the performance. It was a great connection. Yeah, I will definitely build connections there, so congratulations to Becky and her team for the performance. But we haven't been in contact yet, but we will be, and I'll be inviting her to the training ground and to see how we work. And I think uniting every aspect of Newcastle is important, and we can only benefit from being close together.
Just finally from me, I think Keith mentioned it, but Pep was talking about how Manchester City probably needed 2 or 3 days to kind of recover and to get their heads back in the game after the midweek defeat. Are you kind of hoping that that's 4 or 5 days instead?
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt their head will be in the game. They know that now they're fighting and their focus changes to the Premier League. But they've been very consistent, as have Liverpool, in their results, and nothing's wavered their focus. So I don't expect this to. The only thing we can control is turning up and being the best us.
Thanks, Eddie.
Thank you.
Thank you, broadcasters. Damien Spelman.
Eddie, can I just check firstly what Fabshare's injury is, please?
He got a knock on the top of his foot, so he went for a scan immediately after the game to check that it wasn't broken because it swelled up, but fortunately there was no fracture.
Smashing. And just secondly, just going back to Callum and Kieran, what does it say about your team, your squad, that they have achieved what they've achieved in the last few months without 2 very key players?
Yeah, I think it does says a lot about the quality of the squad, the unity of the squad, because I think whenever you lose key players, I think there is a damage to psychologically to the group to say, well, can we cope without them? And then there's question marks whether other players can step up and fill the void. And I think the great thing is, from our perspective, that we've had a group that really stepped up, and everyone's given more. And we've been very consistent in that. So it's been great to see.
Thank you, Craig.
Morning, Eddie.
Morning.
2 questions, different subjects. Allan Saint Maximin earlier in the week was quoted as saying that if he had a teammate or a striker who could convert the chances he creates, he would be probably 10, 15 goals per season. Did you see those quotes? Have you spoken to him about them? What did you make of them? What was the context?
Yeah, I saw the quotes, spoke with Allan. And I think I need to make this clear that Alan's quotes didn't come across in the way that he meant them to. He was concerned yesterday. We spoke, and in no way did he mean to damage the team and the unity that we've built. So, of course, he said things in an interview, but as I said, it wasn't in the context that he meant, although it happened. So we will be speaking with the squad and making sure there's no fallout from that, because the unity and has been our strength, and it's vitally important that we keep that at all costs.
Different subject. You play Manchester City on Sunday. The under-18s met Newcastle and Man City last weekend, and it was quite a staggering scoreline, 13-0. Why did that happen? Does it show the difference between the clubs? Is it something you're looking into? Just it was quite grabbing that scoreline.
Yeah, it was quite grabbing. Yeah, I mean, I had a scheduled meeting with Steve Harper anyway this week, and we sat down and discussed everything to do with the academy. And there was absolutely, for me, the academy is all about developing players, not teams. So although the scoreline is far from what we wanted now or in the future, we want to obviously become stronger. It happened, and we have to deal with it. But we have to remember it's about developing individual players, and so as long as the academy has a way of developing those players, sometimes teams do suffer bad results, although that is to the extreme. We'll be endeavouring to improve the academy. That's something on a longer term focus of the football club, definitely at board level, and we know it's an area that we need to look into very quickly and invest money into it, because I think that's been a core problem.
Miles?
The injury to Callum Wilson left you without your main striker in end of December. Obviously, you can have forced your hand in the transfer market in terms of getting Chris Wood. Can you just assess what contribution he's made in that time on and off the pitch at the club?
Chris?
Yeah.
Yeah. Huge contribution. huge. Again, I look back to the Leeds game, turning point game for us. I thought Chris was magnificent in every aspect in terms of helping the team. So he's someone that immediately grasped the tactical importance of the position. So I would have regular meetings with him and what I wanted him to deliver tactically, and I would never have to tell him twice. Whatever I told him, straight away I'd go and deliver it. And I think that comes with his experience and the various clubs that he's played for. And then he enabled us to take the pressure off certain situations, goal kicks for us, in a sense that I think when we were battling relegation and in the difficult position that we found ourselves in, I want to make the game very simple for the players and not too complex. And Chris enabled us to do that. Just from those, that just giving you an example of how he helped us in those situations. And I just think his general all-round leadership has been very good. So he's a vocal presence in the changing room. He's a support if things aren't going well. He's you can hear him vocally if things are going well. He's a galvaniser of those around him. So he's given the team a lot. And he has scored a couple of key goals for us as well. So let's not forget those. So really pleased with him. And the impact he's made.
Jordan, is there any fresh update on Ryan Fraser? You mentioned last week that he's in a race against time to play again this season.
He has improved. He's out on the training ground on the grass with the physio still. He's not been handed over to sports science, so still some way to go, but I hope we can see him before the end of the season.
And there's another one on Sean Longstaff contract. Obviously you've wrapped up Paul Bullitt and Paddy and Shea. Is there any sort of hold up in that deal, given he's potentially lack of playing time, he wants to play more minutes? Is the complications of that at this point?
I hope we can get a positive resolution with Sean. So hopefully that one's moving quite well at the moment and in the right direction, but obviously until he signed the contract, I can't say for definite.
Oscar?
What did Allan Saint Maximin say that he meant? It's obviously been interpreted as a dig at the strikers. You said it's out of context. What did he say that he meant?
Out of context. I think it's just come across in the wrong way. Now you'd probably have to ask Allan what he meant by it, but it definitely wasn't meant, I don't think, as a criticism towards his teammates. I think it was more based around him rather than his teammates. So again, it's difficult for me to comment on something someone else has said, but definitely Maxi was concerned yesterday, came to see me, and if he had meant those comments in the way that they've come across and been published, then he wouldn't have been in my office concerned about the reaction. So it's something that I'll try to obviously speak with the guys today and make sure there's no fallout from.
And you've obviously accepted his explanation as to what was said.
Yeah, of course. I think it's very difficult when things are being translated from another language. So I think that's always a slight concern. But yeah, I was happy with Maxi's explanation of it.
Scott Wilson?
Just a couple if that's all right, Eddie.
Yeah.
First of all, there are parallels that you can draw between Man City and Newcastle in terms of the investment and the kind of where in the world it's come from. And I know the ownership group have talked about one day wanting to get there. I mean, is it possible for a club to catapult themselves in the way that Man City did, a decade and a half ago? Because the environment now that you're trying to do it in is pretty different to when Man City did it. The teams at the top have arguably got that much further ahead. Can a club ever really do that anymore?
Well, I think I don't know how Manchester City would view their own rise, whether they think they catapulted themselves. I'm not sure. It did take time. Nothing's ever built overnight. I think there needs to be a period where you adjust to your new status. And I think, as I say, especially at a football club, you can't wave a magic wand and change things even in one transfer window. It's going to take time because you can't change the dynamics of a team too quickly. If you do, you can end up with a negative effect rather than a positive. So I think I'm well aware of that. But over time, I think you can definitely improve, make gains in every area, and then hopefully you can get the consistency that the club's looking for in terms of a newfound status. But there's no guarantee on that. And that's the beauty of football. There's no guarantee on anything. You just have to, no matter how much money's spent or what your finances are. So, yeah, the club have big ambitions, and we work towards being successful, but it may take time.
And just one on Callum and Chris Wood. I mean, 20 years ago, you'd probably look at that and say, cliche, little and large, the absolute ideal strike partnership. You look around the Premier League now, and it's hard to find a team that plays like that with, you know, two, what you might say, out-and-out strikers playing together as a pair. How do you feel, you know, can you do that in the Premier League, or again, is that a kind of system that's gone and a day that's gone?
It's a difficult one. I'd say it's not how we're playing at the moment. So we're playing with a different way to that, not with two strikers. I think it would be, I'm not saying impossible, but I think it would be difficult for us to maybe incorporate both into the same team and still produce a team that is strong enough off the ball to withstand that, because I think a lot of the problems with two strikers and why it's, I wouldn't say totally gone out of the game, but going out of the game or disappeared slightly from the game is because off the ball you have big spaces in your midfield, and back four then have huge spaces to defend. So it's not something I'd say I'd never do, but certainly it's not on my immediate plan to play that way.
Kieran?
I think the last time we worked with Callum over a full season, I think he only missed 3 Premier League games. Do you think he has time to work with you and your staff, knowing him? I know you can't legislate for impact injuries, but can he stay fit going forward next season?
Yeah, he can. I'd say that's going to be a challenge for him and for us to find a way of working that keeps him in prime physical condition. Absolutely he can, and the way he's come back in the couple of days training that we've seen already has been pleasantly surprising how he's physically good he's looked. But that's going to be a lot of work from all of us connected with the coaching team, the medical staff and the sports science staff to find a way to keep all our players fit throughout a season. I think a big part of that is a very good pre-season, because players need a good load behind them to make them resilient and strong. But you have to get the balance right, because if you go too high or too low, and you risk injuries both ways. So trying to find that optimum spot, I think, goes a long way for your whole squad, trying to remain fit through a tough Premier League campaign.
The start of Man City's journey, the Brazil international grabbed a lot of headlines, but they also signed a lot of proven, solid Premier League pros. You've kind of done that yourself in January. Is that the kind of policy you want to keep going forward, or are you quite open-minded as a case-by-case basis?
No, I'm open-minded. I think it's the right player for the position. I think you do have to have an eye on the future. I don't think you can be blind to the fact that if you have a squad that's at the wrong ages, I think you can give yourselves problems 1, 2, 3 years down the line. We don't want to put ourselves in that position. So yes, ideally you want experience and players that have played ideally in the Premier League, but as with Bruno, who's none of those things really, but he was the right signing for that position at that time. So I think we're taking it on an individual basis while acknowledging the fact that the club will always have a future and we have to protect that.
Simon?
It's back on the Saint Max thing, and can we take from your reaction to it that you're not happy about that it's happened?
Well, ideally, I wouldn't want any of my players speaking about anything other than maybe themselves and their own career. I don't think players need to talk about other players or other players from other clubs. For me, it's always about us, and it's always about protecting the team in everything that we say. It's about giving off united messages and positive messages, even in difficult moments, and that can be very tough. But for me, that's my ideal. That's how I'd want my players to communicate.
And have you been made to apologise, or will he be fined? And have you been concerned about his mood recently? Has everything been okay on that front?
No concerns over his mood. No, I don't think I'll be fining him for that situation. I think it's more a case of education and making sure that the players know what we expect.
Chris? Morning, Eddie.
Morning.
Slightly awkward one, but you worked with John Yens at Bournemouth, and obviously there's been a lot of allegations made this week for his time at Crawley Town. Were you surprised by those allegations? Have you got anything to say on them?
Yeah, first of all, I say we stand as a football club united against any form of racism, discrimination. John, yes, was a member of staff with me at Bournemouth. He wasn't involved day to day at the training ground. His role was more of a match day role. Yeah, sad to see the situation and how that's developed, but I think there's an FA investigation that will get to the bottom of what happened.
Martin?
Sorry, just one outside Newcastle. How good a job has Mike Jackson done at Burnley since he's come in?
Very, very good. Yeah, I mean, I think to follow Sean, it's a very, very difficult job. The job that Sean Dyche did at Burnley was incredible, and the big shoes to fill in a very difficult moment in the season. And I think I think you can see from the pictures that I've seen, without going in depth into them, I think he has galvanised the squad, the supporters. He's done some really clever things that has brought an immediate response, and that unity, I think, has definitely helped them.
Lee Ryder?
Eddie, just on the season ticket renewals, a lot of fans have no hesitation in renewing them. Wasn't that long ago here, as crazy as it sounds, they were actually given 10,000 season tickets away to supporters to try and fill the ground. But for you, is that a big tick for you that you've got the fans right on side now? There's people actually waiting for the next batch of season tickets to be released.
Well, it's a great sign, Lee. It's a great sign for us that there's that demand and that willingness to support the team. I hope that we can give them some very entertaining football to watch, and we can keep that passion and support where it is right now, because it's been a huge force for us. We've loved playing in front of it and having it as a force behind us, and I think together we're a formidable team. So long may that continue.
And even Liverpool last week might have won the game, but a lot of Liverpool fans were saying it feels like a fortress again. I mean, how important is that to keep that going? Because when the teams are coming out of the tunnel, flags and everything, it's really beginning to be like the 90s a bit. Yeah,
I think if we can build our home ground into a fortress, into a place that people don't want to come, it's a massive thing. There's certainly a powerful thing about St James's at the moment, just the feeling, and even I get it walking into the stadium and it's empty, but there's a great feeling before you come to a game, and you're looking around going, today's going to be special. And the supporters have created that for us, and now we need to say, going back to our last game where I was a little bit disappointed with the intensity we delivered, we set our standards so high we can't for any game, home or away, and that's the least the supporters deserve.
And just finally on Guardiola, is he someone you've sort of, I'm sure you admire him, but is he someone you've kind of studied his philosophy, the way he plays the game?
Yeah, no, I definitely have studied his philosophy, watched his teams intently, obviously come up against him many times. I think he's an incredible manager. I mean, I think there's a lot of teams you can watch and take things from. I think Manchester City are definitely one of those that you look at and you're inspired by some of the football they've played in a totally different way to Liverpool, a lot more controlled, a lot more patient, but deadly and effective and ruthless when they need to be. So I think there's a huge amount to admire from their team.